right, so last part of the podcast. It's Halloween. It's spooky month, October. So we decided that we were going to do a Halloween slash, I don't know if you want to call it horror. Yeah, it's kind of horror. Halloween horror slash poker movie that we were kind of looking for something to do. So the movie that we picked was this movie called Poker Nights. I'll give you a little rundown of it before, and we'll talk about our review of it. The movie came out in 2014. I believe it was a straight to DVD. I don't know. It might have had like a limited release, like in the theaters. Did have some decent names in it, which we'll talk about. Some people that you definitely would recognize. But came out in 2014. I'll give you a quick little synopsis background. It's basically about a detective who goes to this like veteran poker cop poker night, and they start sharing stories, and then
like war stories.
Yeah, like war stories about being a cop while they're playing poker. And then it goes for a turn when the main character is like kidnapped, and we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, so I don't know. I have
Spoiler alert. Listen, I mean, look, it's worth checking out only because, you know, it does have a poker theme to it. Yeah. I'll say this. If you're looking for like a poker night, you're not going to really get much along the lines of poker.
Yeah.
It was, you know, a decent hour and 45-minute, you know, movie, especially because of the cast. You want to go over some of the people that are in it?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know these people's names, but I just know them from the series I've watched them in.
Well, Ron Perlman, that's Hellboy.
Yeah, and then the big one also is
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, who is Gus Fring?
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
So
and then Ron Perlman's from Sons. He's the dude Clay in Sons of Anarchy. So, and then Giancarlo Esposito, he's in the Boys series as the incumbent for season 2, the incumbent runner of Vault or whatever, however you want to pronounce it.
So there's definitely some like known people in there, and this came out in 2014 when you're talking like height of Breaking Bad, height of what's Ron Perlman now? Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're like, okay, you know, I think seeing that cast, you're probably like, oh, this is going to be solid. It was not so solid in my opinion, but here's my thought on it personally, and this is where it all came down to in the end. Was the ending was like they throw in like 4 twists at the end.
Yeah, there are a lot of twists.
I'm like, is this movie ever going to end, or are we just going to keep throwing twist after? Like, I think that they went with. And listen, I don't care. Just spoiler alert. We're throwing it out there. So if you haven't watched it, you're going to see it. I think that they should have just ended it with him dying on that front lawn. Yeah. I think it would have been 100 times better because it just ends at a solid spot, and you're like, oh shit, he totally got him.
Well, we're not really giving anything away because when the movie opens up, if you are going to watch it, it opens up with the main character
dying on the front lawn.
Like on the front lawn. He's got blood all over him, gunshot wound. I thought it was a little bit reminiscent of the Saw movies.
Yeah.
Just because of those twists.
Yeah. It felt like, I don't know, I should have maybe dug a little deeper in this. It almost felt like they took 2 movies and they're like, we have these 2 scripts. What are we going to do with them?
Let's just put them together.
Throw them together and see what happens. Because, like, you have, like, the war stories and then you have this other story. And so that's the other thing, too. If you're not paying attention and you walk away for 5 minutes, you're going to miss, like, there's, like, all these, like, they're jumping around constantly.
Yeah, you can't be in your phone, like, texting or fooling around. If you're gonna watch the movie, you got to kind of watch. Because you'll look up and you're like, yo, what's going on? Because
like, who's this dude?
What happens is during the war stories of the poker game, the actual main character is, I don't want to say he's superimposed, but he takes the role of the person telling the story. So it's not really, say, like Giancarlo Esposito. You're seeing the main character act as that person.
Yeah, so that's my girlfriend, like, stopped paying attention for a minute, and she's like, wait, wasn't he just chasing? And so I'm like, yeah, it's definitely one of those movies that you're like, wait, what is happening here?
Yes.
Who's this? So if you walk away for 5 minutes, you're like totally confused of what's happening. I mean, it's easy to follow if you're actually watching it, but it's just over the top. You're like, they just keep There's too many jumps. Like, you know how like a good movie has like maybe 1 or 2 flashbacks and there's like 6 flashbacks.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what does this scene have to do with this?
I mean, I'll say the main serial killer psychopath who does the kidnapping, his ensemble, like his mask, listen,
legit.
It's pretty terrifying. Like your kids, they'll probably have nightmares over this thing because you see the cover, check it out, you can look at it. It's pretty scary. You don't know if it's like a monster, but shortly after the movie opens, you know that it's a guy wearing a mask.
Yeah. Now here's my other beef with the movie. First, these are the two things I hated about the movie. The plot ending twist. Like I said, they should have just stuck with the one ending and it would have been perfect. Like, I don't want to say perfect, but it would have ended and you're like, oh, wow. Like, it hits you. Like, damn. But then they just keep going and going and you're like, come on, what is this? Again, it felt like they wrote like 4 endings and they were just like, we don't know what to do here. So just throw them all in there. Like, that's what it felt like. Just throw every ending in there.
Yeah.
No director's cut. Just throw them all in there.
Okay, Nate.
And we'll just throw it in there. The other thing I hated, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but just the cop angle of some of the stuff, I was like, come on, dude. This is so, like, the one part, like, basically he hooks up with, like, a 17-year-old, right?
Yeah, I wrote that in my notes. This chick's underage, and he's the daughter of one of his coworkers.
Okay, so that's the point. That's the first point, right? This dude's daughter is kidnapped, right? And he's the main suspect, and all of a sudden, you find this out after the fact, but you're like, dude, this dude's really going to show up to a poker night with his boys and, like, drink and hang out when his daughter's, like, missing, like, a week and a half earlier? First off, get real. That's not going to happen. And second of all, the fact that this dude, like, basically hooked up with a 17-year-old, and then at the end of the movie, right, they, like, give him his job back. Like, first off, in real life...
Wait, are you going to say what happens?
Yeah, because I don't get a shit.
No. Keep going. We'll see because I had that too. Go.
So basically, at the end, he gets his job back and tries to hunt the serial killer down, right? Because he wrongly gets convicted at first, and the girl wakes up from a coma and then says that it wasn't him or whatever, right? Yeah. But the girl's still underage. Like, so here's the thing. Okay, yeah, he didn't commit the murders, and you're going to see that point after you watch the movie. You're like, oh, I understand what you're saying. But they're like, first off, let me explain this. No police department in that traumatic of a situation would ever give that dude back. Even if he was right, they'd be like, bro, sorry, you are not coming back here. And then, second of all, even though he didn't commit the murders, like, bro, we're going to let you slide on this because you hooked up with that 17-year-old because, like, there's a whole murder scene investigation, but we can't let you come back to work here. You're banging 17-year-olds. Like, sorry, dude, not going to work. And then, on top of it, he starts chasing the serial killer. And this is what really pissed me off. And I think this part ruined a lot of it for me. Like, the point of poker night is they learn all these lessons. So he learns these lessons, and they try to connect them. And so that's kind of cool, but I don't think they do a great job of it. And they're, like, basically, like, he learned this lesson, and that's how he's going to apply it to his next case. So he learns all these lessons, and he talks about, like, oh, I should have never went there alone. And then at the end, he's chasing the guy alone without any backup again. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it was... And then, I don't know, just all the crappy cop haircuts. Like, no cops have hair. Like, Ron Perlman's got, like, an earring in.
I love that. I love that.
Like, what? Like, no cops are looking like this. Like, what is it,
I mean, not to beat a dead horse, we kind of blasted this movie a little bit. I didn't dislike it as much as you did. I mean, I enjoyed it. My negatives were, just the title in itself, Poker Night. Look, I got into it. I'm like, nice, you're going to see some poker. Maybe it's not worked into it at all. There's very little poker played. It's just, the game part, like we already talked about, the angle of having to see it through everyone's, perspective. He kind of steps into that role. Very, very confusing. Like the one guy, Giancarlo Esposito, takes him back to the 70s wearing like an old school turtleneck, and all of a sudden this dude's in like an old school turtleneck.
Which that storyline had nothing to do. Like some of the other storylines, I got it. Like they connected a little bit, like with the thought and process. But like that one had nothing really to do with the rest of the movie.
Nah, I know. And then speaking about the ending, so
which one? Because there's 4
No.
endings.
The very end, and it's maybe something that you missed, but so he returns back to poker night at the end. And there's a new rookie.
Yes.
And he comes in, and they're like, oh, hey, what's up, Captain? So now this dude has gone from getting promoted to detective
to
captain. And I'm like, wait a minute. What?
And he's this dude? He looks the same exact age.
Yes, exactly.
Like, if you don't know anything about police,
he was a rookie 2 months ago. Now he's a captain of the police department.
Like, going into detective usually takes... okay, so just break it down for you. Some people don't know military police world. going into detective, that might happen after a year, 2 years, 3 years. Like that could be a promotional thing or whatever. Okay, but then there's steps in between. Like there's like a corporal, a sergeant, a lieutenant, maybe a first lieutenant, administrative sergeants. Like there's all these spots in between, and then a captain is like up here. So from you to go to like detective to captain in like a year and a half, like either the whole department got fired, and they're like, all right,
you don't get promotions for killing serial killers. Like,
all right, you're chief this week.
Way to go, dude! You got him. Now you're captain. So look, we're gonna close the book on this Poker Night. Check it out. Give us your comments on it. Let us know. Send us an email, a tweet, something if you're going to look into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an hour and 45 minutes. Your life will never get back, but at least you'll be able to see some big name actors, and get a laugh. I got a laugh out of a couple parts.
Let me know. So. And you know what? Let us know what other movies you would like us to see. Because I would like to do this too. Like, because I've seen a bunch of poker movies, some related, some hardcore poker, some old school stuff. And I know Brian's seen a lot too. So we'll maybe, if you guys have some comments of ones you want us to talk about, we'll definitely talk about. My overview, like I said at the end here, I think it had all the potential of being something. And it was like, you had all the ingredients and then you put it in the oven and it just came out and you're like, what is this crap?
Yeah.
Like, it had all this potential to being good. I'm like, the actors, the story. And then So anyway, that's what we got for this month's podcast. Check us out. Nerd Enthusiast Poker Podcast. You can check us out on Spotify. You can subscribe to us on Patreon. You can look at us at YouTube. We put up the individual parts of the podcast on there. You can follow us on Twitter, which we'll have pop up as well. And like I said, just comment. And then what's our email? I don't. Do you know what it is? Is it Nerd Enthusiast Poker? I don't know.
We'll add it. Well, it'll be in the podcast at the end.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll add it in.
We'll add it in or put it in the description. So if you have any questions or you want to talk about something specifically. For sure. But yeah, we'll be back every month with a podcast of some point, and keep checking us out. So thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See ya.
See ya.